My name is Desmond, I'm the host, and Mr. Ricky Santos, my co-host. And Ricky, let me say welcome to the listening audience and also our friends joining us on Facebook Live. Ricky, I'm excited about the show tonight, and I'll tell you why. So when I looked at the lineup for this evening, I got really excited because I noticed we have 4 players from the national honor going to join us tonight, as well as I had a chance this week to do a couple of interviews at the Ottos Comprehensive School that I proudly teach at. So it was really, really exciting for me, and I hope that our audience also shares that excitement with us tonight. So,
well, Zico, it's always a pleasure, particularly when we have these young budding stars, and I'm sure that particularly these 4 that are in studio with us tonight, all members of the Generation X Football Club, and part of the national under-14 setup that took part in the CONCACAF under-14 tournament in St. Kitts, and I know for certain that all of them will be representing Antigua one day at the senior level. So I'm really excited, and of course the GN Sports Show is going to be going into all the schools over the next year. We'll be interviewing all these young athletes, not only from the football sporting discipline, but from all sporting disciplines. And I'm sure the listening audience out there will be glad to join in and welcome these as we get them used to being interviewed, being not camera shy, not mic shy, but and I'm sure I know one in particular that's over there is definitely a very talkative one. I wouldn't single him out. Okay, Xander, I wouldn't single you out. But anyway, that's another issue. Of course, we'd like to thank ABS for hosting us and on this what we consider a very important program for youth development, because holistically we'd like to develop all the youths not only in their sport of preference, but also in the media world, because when they do make it, they'll be able to represent Antigua proudly, even when being interviewed.
Definitely, and these guys are definitely set up for great things as long as they continue putting in the work. So we're not going to delay it any longer. We're going to introduce our 4 young stars to the general public in Mr. Alexander Moody-Stuart, Jonathan Mansoor, Javaughn Parker, and Shamoi Andrew. So we just want to welcome you guys to the studio. Welcome to our couch, and we'll have a quick chat with you guys, and see what's going on with you guys. So first of all, who's going to go first? I think Xander's going to go first. So Xander's a talkative one, right?
Yeah, he is a talkative
one.
And he's definitely not camera shy.
Oh, no. Shy can't be used to describe this young man, and I had the privilege of working with him extensively for the summer, and I must say he represented not only Generation X, but he also represented the country extremely well, as well as all the other players. So again, Alexander Moody-Stuart, better known to everyone as Xander. Xander, tell us a little bit about you. What school do you go to?
I go to Island Academy.
You have a favorite subject, son?
Yeah.
What's that?
What?
Physical education.
Imagine that. Physical education. And I wonder why.
And do you have a favorite teacher? Or all your teachers are your favorites?
Not all of them, but some of them.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't want to single out any one particular? No? All right. That's fair enough. And what got you into football, Xander?
Well, from day one, I always loved it. And just the touch of the ball just gets me happy, so...
And Xander is extremely happy when he plays.
He definitely is.
He enjoys every single minute of it.
And I know you guys are 10 the age of 14 or 15.
I think Jeff is probably
12.
Is still 12, right? Oh.
So for Xander, for you, do you have any ambitions as to your future, either in academics or sports or both?
Well, mostly sports, because I'd love to make it as a footballer and one of the best.
So you'd like to play it at a professional level.
Yeah.
Is there any particular league that you have any preference for?
Probably the Premier League.
The Premier League, okay, that's fair enough. And let's find out what's your favorite club.
FC Barcelona. Or
Oh.
the Antigua generation next.
Very good answer. So, and your favorite player would be, I would assume, Messi?
Yeah.
Right. I shouldn't be answering the questions for him, should I?
No, but that's kind of predictable.
Yes.
He's a Barca fan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
Zandy,
that too.
you've had the privilege also of going for training
Yeah.
At
with
Barcelona.
FC at Barcelona.
Yeah,
Tell us about that experience.
Well, just actually to go there and to see where all those players play and where my favorite players play and stuff, and to play on where they actually played was amazing. And yeah, to actually go to the stadium and to go to the actual sports store where FC Barcelona, where everything goes and all their trophies and all of that, it was amazing to see all of that as well.
So as mentioned, these guys represented the country, and what I tried my best with them is to get them to understand the privilege and the importance of what they were about to embark, and they represented us fairly well. So Xander, tell us about that under 14, that first tour, that first national team, that first national setup, and also that competition. Tell us a little bit about that in St. Kitts, how you felt, and what are some of the lessons that you learned from that experience.
It was a very good experience in what we did, and to be by yourself and become more independent
Right.
and to improve in your teamwork and to be all as one and do everything together, eat together, dress the same, and just do everything as a team. It was amazing. As long as being in the starting lineup was also amazing.
And then, of course, you would have met young footballers from different territories, and friendships would have been forged, I would imagine, that you not only with your own teammates, but also with competing teammates, competitive side. So that must have been a wonderful experience. And I know you're in very capable hands with Coach Zico,
Yeah.
who was your head coach. So,
Yeah.
and I honestly think you guys did a wonderful job over there.
Occasionally, I get a few things right, just occasionally. But
A lot of
you
the
know.
time.
All right, Jonathan Mansoor.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, what I can tell you about Jonathan was one of the more instrumental players, along with our captain
Bartley.
Bartley, because both of them play midfield, and anybody who's been around me long enough understand that my teams that I have an influence on generally play through midfield, and I must single out Jonathan for doing a tremendous job at the tournament. But before we get to that, Jonathan, what school do you attend?
St. Anthony Secondary.
Excellent, and you're no stranger to us at Generation Next or St. Anthony's for that matter. Favorite subject?
Probably math or any other sciences.
He said math. Jonathan, I think you deserve a trophy for math being your. Bearing in mind the struggles, and I'm putting on my teacher hat. Bearing in mind the struggles that we have with math, whenever young students and more so athletes indicate that math is their favorite subject, I wanna say that's a tremendous achievement. Favorite club? Please don't say.
FC Barcelona, easily.
And your favorite player would be?
Iniesta.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh,
No, well,
that's
occasional
that's.
Messi fan.
I am not surprised.
And you have any dreams and aspirations as to what you want to
Well,
do
to
with?
make it big as a footballer, and well, I do pretty well in academics, so. But my main goal is to be a star footballer one day for a major club, so.
And in terms of your studies, you have any?
Well, I'm taking the CXC math exam next year in May, so that's coming up soon, so I'll have to study hard for that as well.
And I'm sure you would do well, because I've been privileged to his academic progress also too. He's a pretty well-rounded individual, and what all of these young personalities here should understand too, that any professional sport is a short-lived career. By the time you're 35, you're basically over the hill.
Yeah, when you
And
get
yeah.
to my age.
So it's very important that you keep your academic standards up, so that when you're finished with your professional career, and hopefully all of you will make it there, that you have something else to do for the rest of your life. So that's extremely important. In whatever endeavors in your academic future.
Jonathan? What was your experience like with the national team? I know it was the first tour of that magnitude, not necessarily the first team that you would have played for, but the first national team. Give us some feedback as to what your experience was in St. Kitts playing at that under 14 tournament.
Well, it was an honor to play for my country, Antigua and Barbuda, and to do so well as a team. And it took great discipline as a team to do so well, and I learned valuable teamwork lessons, and we all bonded very well, I found.
That's excellent.
Yeah, very good.
And we'll speak to our other two players before I get to that. Javaughn Parker, aka Jeff, the little maestro. I'll let you in on a little secret, Ricky. When the first game was finished, we played St. Kitts. We beat them 2-0. When the first game was finished, I have a very good friend who I would have had many battles with over the years as a national player. He played for St. Kitts as well, and he coaches in St. Kitts. Top player. And when the game was finished, he came and he was like, "Z, that little guy in the white boots that wore the number 10, he killed us." And I was like, little guy, white boots, number 10. I was like, Jeff. And then it registered he had a pretty good game against St. Kitts. But Jeff is one of those players, he goes about his business. It's not flashy, but it's extremely effective. And to receive that commendation from a player who would have played for the Kittitian national team for 15 plus years, that speaks volumes for the quality. Javaughn Parker, tell us about yourself. What school do you go to, young man?
Well, I attend the Antigua Grammar School.
Yay, alma mater in the house. Did you know I went to grammar school as well, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. So we understand that we would have attended an elite. Well, I would have attended an elite institution, and you're currently enrolled at an elite institution. Unfortunately, Ricky went to St. Joseph's Academy. Oh boy. You see, Jeff is 12, and at the mention of St. Joseph's Academy, Jeff shook his head.
No,
imagine that, Ricky.
St. Joseph's Academy will come back to its heyday. We will return. Natioal.
So Jeff, what was before we get to your experience in St. Kitts, what's your favorite subject in school?
Integrated science.
Another science.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's always good for the education.
That speaks volumes, and I'm encouraged when that happens. Favorite club?
PSG.
PSG. You're a Neymar fan?
No.
Mbappe. Oh.
Oh.
It's okay.
So far, nobody has selected a Premier League team. Well, we'll see when we get to Shamoi.
I am not so sure. I am guessing. I think I know. I think I know about Shamoi, but I'll let him tell.
Yeah.
But Jeff, tell us about your experience in St. Kitts. Tell us about your debut at the national level. What was it like? What were some of the things that you learnt, and how did that whole tournament go for you?
Well, the tournament was nice, although we come in third, but we were aiming for first. When I went to St. Kitts, I was really excited, as well as my teammates.
But you guys did really well, though. I mean, the third place does not reflect the effort and what you guys accomplished over there. I think the third place is just a statistic, because I think you guys did extremely well over there. You won all but one of your games, and that
actually
you drew one. I think
we drew one.
You drew one.
Two, drew one, and we lost.
So don't be disappointed. I think your accomplishment, particularly as you guys weren't together for a very long time.
And that was the point I was going to make after we concluded with the boys. You know, I must give them credit for putting in that work. We had 4.5 weeks of training actually to build a team from scratch. And I must say the boys showed up every day. ready and willing to put in their work, and so that was tremendous. And so I'm not disappointed at all, and I must say that they represented the country well, and they made. I was extremely proud of them. I know our technical director who traveled with us as well. He was extremely proud of them. The assistant coach, Auckland Jarvis Pinup, was extremely proud, and we had absolutely no problems with their performance.
And what I'd like to mention here with that tour that it did make is that the parents, that particularly the Generation Next parents that traveled with them, kept me abreast on a blow-by-blow commentary through WhatsApp, and I'd like to thank them for keeping me updated. And in particular, Cindy Mansoor and Jadira Moody-Stuart.
At one point,
I mean, they were just keeping me updated. And
at one point, I had to mute the group because these parents and I love them dearly, and they being there was important for the boys. It brought a bit of familiarity, and so they were settled. But the updates were regular.
Well, I was very grateful, and I was extremely grateful for the updates, because as soon as I got it, I posted it on all our social media sites for everyone to follow. Reluctantly, in the final game, I had to post them, but I didn't enjoy those posts. But it's something that that's the nature of sports. You win some, you lose some, and the aim of the game is to get the word out as the progress the youngsters are making. So I did enjoy the last set of posts, but in the end, I was very grateful that I was kept informed so that I can inform the general public here also too as to the progress.
And last but definitely by no means least, Mr. Shamoi Andrew. Shamoi is one of our players who turned out to be sort of a utility player. We played Shamoi in multiple positions during the tournament, and he was absolutely top-notch in every single game in all of those positions. And it's never easy switching on the fly. It's never easy at any age, let alone at 14, to have the ability to play multiple positions at that elite level. And I must thank Shamoi for being always willing to slot into whatever position both coaches and the TD wanted him. Shamoi, it's your time. Tell us about you. Shamoi Andrew. What school do you attend, young man?
I attended Clearhall Secondary School.
Clearhall Secondary School. You're behaving yourself, because I know your principal, Mr. Ashworth Azil. So if you fall out the line, I'll be on the phone and I'll check on you. Let me know what Shamoi is doing, and I'll be sure to get updates. So I'll make sure that all your ducks are in a row. What's your favorite subject?
Social science.
Social science. That's another science. Huh? That's interesting. Good stuff. Favorite club? Manchester
United.
I could have told you that.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Finally, a Premier League club is
True to form. 1 out of every 4 players are going to support an English club, unfortunately. But he chose the red side of Manchester.
Oh, well, I'm not happy with that choice.
I know,
but
especially since you're a Liverpool fan.
No, Tottenham.
Oh.
My son, Michael is a Liverpool fan.
Tottenham, Ricky. Nobody else in Antigua back Tottenham, Ricky.
Because nobody else in Antigua have sense to back a good team.
No,
sure?
No.
What do you guys think?
Well, Inter Milan did the talking when they beat them in the Champions League, so...
This is our year. Anyway, Shamoi.
But last year was supposed to be your year too.
No. We
And the year before that?
No. This year is our year.
You sure?
I never said last year was our year. I said this
No,
year.
you didn't say that.
Yeah.
Other people said it.
Well, I'm saying it. This is our year. Don't matter that Liverpool is doing so well.
Shamoi, tell us about your experience in St. Kitts.
It was a good experience. It was always a pleasure to play for Antigua. And
Shamoi, if I just could interrupt you there a second, he was awarded one of the top 3 spots in the Flow Ultimate Football Experience. Were you, Shamoi? You were selected one of the 3 representatives from Antigua, and you traveled to Trinidad. And what was the experience like down there?
Well, it was good. I learned different things, and I met new friends,
And what is your ambition in terms of what you like to do in the forthcoming years of your life?
I want to be a pilot and still be a football player.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. You're thinking ahead of the football career. That's wonderful.
The sky's the limit. I mean, these guys have if anything, if I've learned anything from my 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks with them is that tremendous determination that each and every one of them have. And so whatever they set their mind to, I'm pretty sure that ultimately they will achieve it.
If I can just ask each one of them just one question, what's your favorite local team? Xander?
Generation Next.
Same thing, Generation X.
Generation X.
Oh, that's what.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep.
Hey boys, we just like to thank you for
Would you boys like to give a shout out to anyone?
I would.
A girlfriend?
No.
Your mom, your dad.
Shout out to my dad, my mom, and my sister.
Okay,
Yeah.
and your names are?
Cindy Mansoor, Edmund Mansoor, and Gabriella Mansoor.
Shout out to my parents and family as well for all the support that they've given.
And your names?
Andrew Moody-Stuart, Judea, Moody-Stuart, and all my brothers.
Okay, you don't want to call the names of your brothers too? No, okay. Javaughn?
Well, shout out to my brother, mom, dad,
And your names?
family. Brother Jebia Parker, Annette Hyatt, Keone Williams, and Mervyn Parker.
Okay, and Shamoi?
I want to shout out to my mommy, my daddy, and my two sisters. Daddy named Sean Andrew, mommy named Alice Thomas. My little sister name is Savannah Andrew, and my big sister is Shanika Andrew.
Hi boys, we'd like to thank you for joining us at the GN Sports Show. Hopefully at some point we'll get you back, hopefully after some exploits. Most likely these guys are going to be with me next year for the under 15s at the IMG. We'll get all of that in place, and I keep telling them, you're in, make sure you stay in, and I'm pretty sure we can pretty much mark them down after we come back from IMG that we have a little chat with them. Again, boys, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, just before they leave, because the GN Sports Show, of course, is a spin-off of the Generation X Football Club, where we're trying to expose as many of the young athletes of Antigua in all sporting disciplines. And I would just like to big up the sponsors of our club, because without the sponsors of the club, of course, none of this would be possible, because their input for corporate Antigua is extremely important in all, so we just like to recognize them. Our platinum sponsor is North Coast Hardware. They have 2 locations in the Village Walk and in Blue Waters Main Road. They have Frank Wall Limited, the Candy Man, where you see all those M&M products. So that's them. Kenneth A. Gomez and Sons, and they're in Royal Palm Court, and that's on the Fries Hill Road. And then we have Island Photo. Island Photo is, of course, in the same location, Royal Palm, on the Fries Hill Road. Beach Limers is one of our sponsors, and of course our shipping sponsor, Antigua Cargo. Anybody need any shipping from the States, check out John Andrew and his wonderful crew down at Antigua Cargo. So we just like to thank all, I nearly forgot, our football sponsor, XL Engineer. That's the generator specialist just off of Fries Hill Road also. So we'd like to thank all of them for being part of this, because without them, all the spin-offs of the football club itself would not be taking place.
All right, so what we're gonna do, Ricky, and this is another exciting part of the show for me, is that we're gonna go to a pre-recorded interview at the Ottos Comprehensive School, fantastic institution that I work at, and we had a chance to speak with 2 young athletes and also the principal. So we're gonna go directly to that recording of a little chat that I had a couple of days ago at my my stomping ground during the day, the Ottos Comprehensive School. So we're here at Ottos Comprehensive, and I have my co-host hat today as opposed to my teacher hat. I've For those of you who don't know, I'm a teacher at the Ottos Comprehensive School. I teach physical education here. And today we're going to talk to a couple of our student athletes, because that's what they are. They're students at Ottos Comprehensive, but they also represent the country and in some instances the region in their different sporting disciplines. And right now I have with me Mr. Zaheem Scott. And Zaheem is going to tell us a little bit about himself. So first of all, Zaheem, thanks for agreeing to do the interview. First of all, tell us, how old are you, Zaheem?
I'm 14 years old.
So Zaheem is 14, and obviously he's a student at the Ottos Comprehensive. But what's your sporting discipline? What sport do you play?
I play the cricket.
And tell us, Zaheem, how did you get into cricket?
I saw my mom play cricket, so I guess to try it.
Okay, so your mom played the hardball version or the softball version?
The softball
So your
version.
mom plays softball cricket, and so you got that interest. How long have you been playing?
5 years now.
That's 5. And within those 5 years, what would you say has been your biggest accomplishment so far in cricket?
I went to the Lewis under 15 team, so yeah,
Okay, so and where was that tournament?
in Jamaica.
So that was the Leeward Islands. So you would have played for the Leeward Islands under 15 in Jamaica. Finally, Zaheem, tell us what was that experience like? What was the biggest thing that stood out in that tournament for you?
Well, I get to go to Jamaica to have fun, to play cricket. I get to saw new players to play against other teams, and
Okay, so that's excellent. Last thing, I know I said last thing, but last final question. If you were to give advice to other students at Ottos when it comes to sports and school, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that if they don't like the sports, they can try it, and if they try it and they get it, yeah.
Excellent. Well, Zaheem, congratulations. You did your first interview. And thanks for agreeing to have a little chat with us at ABS. Thanks a lot. This is what we plan to do at the Generation Next Sports Show. Have our kids exposed for their talent and what they're doing and their accomplishments. And so the second student we would like to talk to is one of the brighter young athletes in the country, also a student of Ottos Comprehensive, and I've had the privilege of teaching this young lady for a few years. She's almost completed her studies at Ottos, and so I'd like to introduce Miss Stephanie Joseph. Stephanie, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for agreeing to do this little interview with us. Tell us exactly a little bit about yourself. How old are you, Stephanie?
I am 16 years old.
And what's your sporting discipline?
My sporting discipline, like, what's what I do?
What sport do you do?
I'm currently doing track and field at the moment, but I want to get into football.
So you're a track star with the aspirations of becoming a football player. That's excellent. I am a little bit biased when it comes to football, and so I'll encourage you to pursue those goals. What events in terms of the track? 100 meter, 200,
Well,
1600, 1500, tell us.
I'm a quarter mile. I do 4 and 800, sometimes 200 if I need to.
That's excellent. So you're well rounded, and hopefully that pays off for you in the long run. How long have you been involved in track and field?
It's been 4 years now.
Excellent stuff. And in those 4 years, what would you say would you count as your biggest achievement so far?
Well, I have 2 big achievements. It was my first time before I ever left Antigua. That was when I won the 800 meters on the 18 girls. I came first. That's my first time I ever came first went into school. And then I made the Curifta team and I came second in which country? Crusoe, I think.
Curacao? I think it was Curacao. I think it was inter-schools. That was 2 years ago. Not inter-schools, but Curifta 2 years ago. So if I'm not mistaken, it may have been Curacao. Finally, if you were to get a chance to speak to other students who are athletes at Ottos Comprehensive, what advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, if you want to become an athlete, it's not very easy. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication, but once you put in that, you will succeed.
All right, Stephanie, thanks a lot for joining us, and we appreciate the fact that you took time out of your schedule you had to get permission from your teachers and all of that. So I won't keep you much longer. I'll allow you and Zahim to get back to class. But again, thanks a lot for joining us. Those were the two students that we had featured with our interview at Ottos Comprehensive. In just a little bit, we're going to have a chat with the principal at Ottos Comprehensive, Mr. Foster Roberts, and we'll have his take on the importance, in his opinion, of school and sports and what he's doing to further the sport department at the Ottos Comprehensive School. So we're here with Mr. Foster Roberts, principal of the Ottos Comprehensive School, and we'd just like, first of all, to thank Mr. Roberts for agreeing to facilitate us with this interview and also accommodating us in his lovely office. Mr. Roberts, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Blow.
One of the things that we're trying to do at the Generation Next Sports Show is to feature our student athletes within the confines of the space that they work in. Mm-hmm. And I thought it fitting that we include the principals as well, because in many instances, I know from personal experience with you that you're very big on sports, and I thought it was fitting while we have the interview with our young student athletes to also get your perspective, your philosophy on sports and education and how both of them go together. So if you could share, first of all, how long have you been principal of the Ottos Comprehensive, and also your philosophy when it comes to academics and sports?
Thank you very much, Mr. Blow. I became principal at Ottos Comprehensive in 2015. Before that, I worked at Glanville's and Jennings Secondary. At all the institutions that I have been granted the opportunity to manage, that it was always my philosophy, even when I was a classroom teacher, that sports and academics go hand in hand. What we would have noticed even when I was at Glanville School, because I remember one John Baptiste, she used to run for Antigua. We picked her up as a 9-year-old, myself and Dr. Green picked her up as a 9-year-old running against 15-year-olds on the track down here at Yasco and beating everybody. And she always maintained an A average in school. Because sports actually teaches you a certain degree of discipline and also helps you with time management. Those are two important ingredients in children who are doing well in school. And so my philosophy is that once we can combine sports and education, our children will grow up into being wholesome individuals and not just be bookworms, because today's society doesn't just necessarily need somebody who is just academic. You need somebody who can function socially. And we believe that sports is an avenue by which we can get that done with our children. So I am big on that, and I'm just encouraging all of Antigua to support Ottos Comprehensive School. It's by no means a mistake why we're here first in doing this interview, because Ottos is really number one.
That's excellent, and I share those sentiments, especially the positive correlation between academics and sports. With that being said, what would you say has been the biggest achievement athletically during your tenure here at the Ottos Comprehensive School?
Well, I think it was in my second year here at Ottos Comprehensive School. The girls' team actually were runner-up to the Princess Margaret School. Albeit that we don't have, our students really and truly don't go to Yasco as often as the other school that would have won. But on sheer determination and talent that we were able to compete. That is one. Also, almost every year since we have been here, that we have students who receive academic scholarships in sports. Just the other day we sent off 2 of them for football, Trishan Grant and Zane Denny. Mm-hmm. And in the summer there in August, we had a 4th former who was identified as one of our top male basketballers for school, and he's now in Las Vegas playing basketball. And so those are some of the things that parents need to understand, that our children can achieve if they will just give them the opportunity to participate in sports. Yes, we know that most of the activities take place after school, but we also have responsible adults who must accompany these children to make sure that they are well taken care of. So I just want to let people know that there's nothing at all wrong with your child playing cricket or football or basketball, because they really and truly don't know where the child is going to end up. You don't know. And most of us are poor people in Antigua anyway. So if you can get a scholarship, a full scholarship for your child to get a first-hand education, tertiary education, you don't have to pay a dime. Why are we holding back? Let's get forward. Support Ottos Comprehensive School, calling in the business places as well to continue to support us in this endeavor.
And I share those sentiments wholeheartedly, because personally I would have benefited from not one but 2 full athletic scholarships as a football player, and I know for a fact that my parents didn't have the finances to otherwise pay it. And so I'm really ecstatic that we're hearing this from a principal of a secondary school. Our children need to be afforded the opportunity to pursue not only academics but athletics as well, and we need to change that mindset where parents take the sports away from the children under the guise of concentrating on school. I think our children are disciplined and balanced enough that they can perform equally well on both fronts.
I mean, the research would have shown, Mr. Blow, that where a child excel in sports, that they normally do well in academics. Just the other day we graduated Avante Joseph. She was one of our top female athletes at Ottos Comprehensive School, and she was a top student at CXC for her graduating year, and now she's at the Antigua State College studying engineering. I mean, you know, we just have to give them the opportunity. The avenues are there, but we just have to give them the opportunity to do these sporting disciplines. We can't really just keep them straight in books, because it doesn't always work for everybody. Some of us need that balance, and that balance is through sports.
All right. Finally, Mr. Roberts, without divulging too much information, could you give us an idea of some of the proposed plans that you may have in place to drive our athletic department, our sport department at Comprehensive forward, so we can keep producing top level athletes?
As it stands right now, Mr. Blow, what we do is that we identify the areas of interest in our students from early, from the time that they come in at first fall, that the PE teachers will take them out and do all of these necessary tests with them to identify the areas whether they have the potential to be long jumpers, they have the potential to be a basketballer, a cricketer, because we play all of these sports. And once they're identified, then we keep them in that channel and we give them the necessary grooming. Also, we have at OCS some space that we wish to utilize to help build our students' skill and talent here on plant rather than taking them off plant. And some of those plans will require certainly some cooperation from the business entities. And I'm just hoping that as we approach some of these business places to help us move the sporting program in the school forward, that they will certainly come on board, because Ottos over the years has produced tremendous sporting men. I mean, nobody probably knew that Richie Richardson was a student at Ottos Comprehensive School. He became the captain of the West Indies cricket team.
And also managed the team.
And also managed the team as well. And we also have other great sportsmen and women who would have passed through this institution. So there is a legacy of Ottos Comprehensive School doing well in sports. So I just want to continue that tradition. We have a 10-year plan for the school, which involves the development of sports as well. And so, in short order, when you drive along on the road just outside of our compound, you will be seeing a hubbub of activities here in the afternoons. with our children with all of the various sporting disciplines right here on plan, because we believe, strongly believe, that sports and academics go hand in hand.
I want to thank you, Mr. Roberts, for taking time out of your clearly busy schedule to accommodate us at the Generation Next Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, as promised, this is part of what we're planning to do at the GN Sports Show. Feature young talent in their environment. Stay tuned, we're going to have a lot more in terms of school interviews coming up. And again, I'm Desmond Blow from the Ottos Comprehensive, where we had a chat with 2 students and also the principal of the Ottos Comprehensive School, Mr. Foster Roberts. So that was our first school interview, Ricky, and I was really happy that the first one could have been at Ottos Comprehensive. Obviously, we've had issues with it in as far as
Conversations is back, but
Ottos
before we
Comprehensive
meet our
School
guests for
goes,
Season
there's
2,
stigma attached to
we'll
it.
take a
It's
look
really,
back at the
really
highlights
good.
of
It's
Season
really
1,
top-level atmosphere
all
as
throughout
well,
the
and
month.
it was good to feature a couple of them.
Well,
So what we
well,
did,
this is the first of many. So we're going to be going into all the schools at the GN Sports Show and interviewing these young and aspiring athletes in all disciplines of sports, not only in football, but in cricket, athletics, anything else.
And I think now would be an excellent time for us to take a break, because we've been here for quite a bit. But on the other side of the break, we're going to have joining us in studio Mr. Rowan Porridge Benjamin, who is the coordinator for football in the Ministry of Sports. So we're going to go to a break, our first commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll have a chat with Mr. Benjamin as to the state of affairs of school football in Antigua.
Conversations is back, but before we meet our guests for Season 2, we'll take a look back at the highlights of Season 1, all throughout the month of September. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. for Conversations, right here on ABS.
APA would like to inform consumers that the electricity network will be closely monitored during Hurricane Irma. Based on the severity of the weather conditions, the network will be completely closed down to minimize damage. This will be done under the advice of the Met Office. Residents are asked to have a supply of flashlights and other battery-operated lighting equipment. Candles and kerosene lamps are possible fire hazards and not encouraged.
Back, guys, to the GN Sports Show, and as promised, joining us in the studio is Mr. Rowan Benjamin Porridge, who is the coordinator of schools football in the Ministry of Sports. Mr. Benjamin, good night and welcome to the GN Sports Show.
Very much good night to Ricky and to Zico. I'm very happy to be here. Also, let me say good night to those that are listening to this sports show. It's the second week, I believe.
It is.
And I'm here. I'm very happy for that.
It is indeed the second show, and we're really ecstatic about you having the ability to join us. Me more so because I'm a little biased. I'm a footballer by nature, and I would have cut my teeth in our school's football, so it's something that I am innately interested in, and I am excited about what's going to happen with schools football. So tell us, give us a rundown. I know I sort of glimpsed an article where there's going to be a change in the format in terms of how it's done this year. So give us an idea of some of the changes and possibly some of the reasons, some of the rationale behind some of those changes.
Okay, first let me say that it's really the time when every youngster, both boys and girls, look forward for the school league. They're coming off of 10 weeks. Earlier they saw the World Cup, so they are very much eager to put their skills that they probably would have saw out there on the field. Yes, the Ministry of Sports, we are ready for the 2018 season, which will more or less open on the 4th of October. But actually playing now is a knockout competition. We have played 3 matches so far. It's an open competition, which means that once you're under 20, you're representing your school or institution, you can play. And that is, each school will be represented by a boy, a male or female team. So that's a new format for us. We believe that the more football is played in the school league, it will help generally the football in the country. Also, our under 14 was out a bit for probably the last 2-3 years, and we see it fit to bring it back in the fold. Actually, we have also our primary school competition, which runs from January to April. And out of that, when these youngsters pass their exam and go on to the high school or the secondary schools, it took them, a while before they represent the school. And we really believe that the earlier that we capture them, the better. So hence, the under 14 is back. So actually, you're looking at probably one school, which is, take for instance, maybe the Ottos Comprehensive or the PMS, could find themselves with 5 teams be represented in the league.
Oh, that's excellent.
So just for clarity, how many divisions are we actually going to have with the reintroduction of the under 14s? How many divisions are we going to have?
That's 5.
So it's going to be the under 14s, the juniors, under 16s,
and under 20s.
Under 20s. Also, we've gone back to the U14s, the U16s, and the U20s.
Right.
And then the
female is on the 16
and
on the
20.
Yeah.
And quite rightly, like you said, teams like PMS and schools like PMS and Ottos could very well field 5 teams.
5 teams. It's very difficult, but I think it's the way to go, because especially the under 14, because that could be one of our biggest tournaments, because our biggest league, because you'll find that most of the schools are likely to have an under 14.
Yes.
And in our fold, I haven't seen them as yet, but one of our top coaches is helping out that team, and that is the Novel Richards Academy. We have Epilos Edwards. They're working with these youngsters, and also he's attached to Abby's.
Okay.
Right.
So we expect some good things from this young team over at the academy. They're very excited. The coach would have run some 2 practice already with this team.
Well, that's excellent news for the Novel Richards Academy. I know Epilos is no stranger to the football fraternity. He's an excellent coach and a top individual. I consider him a mentor and a very good friend, and I wish him all the best in those teams. Interestingly, the reintroduction of the under 14 for me was exciting. Specifically because of my attachment to our under 14/under 15 national program, and so I am really excited, because it's going to give me an opportunity to actually scout a little bit more, because at the end of the day, it's important going into that tournament and at the IMG next season for us to capture the best possible athletes we can have representing the national team. And I think the reintroduction of the under 14 at this point gives us a good catalyst where we can see those youngsters. One of the interesting things about the school league is, and one of the things that I already see it being extremely exciting, is that whenever you put 20 or 25 players together and they play at the national level, the following school league generally tends to be extremely excited because these guys would have been training together for 3-4 months. Now they get a chance for bragging rights individually. So I'm really looking forward. I'm really excited. Really looking forward to that on the 14th. As a matter of fact, all the divisions, to be honest. Porridge, could you give us the rationale behind the reformatting to the under 14, the under 16, and the under 20s? Because traditionally, my time at school, that's the divisions that we had, and recently we would have moved away from that and gone to juniors and seniors and the females. But just give us the rationale behind reverting to that format, and what are some of the benefits you think we can derive from going that direction now?
Well, the format haven't really changed in terms of the junior competition, in terms of the under 14 and the under 16, and that both boys and girls. What really do happen is that the under 20, there is a change, and we were looking really at we wanted to be more competitive, and there will be more excitement. And last year we saw for the first, in this new format, where we actually generate some income. The first time that in school league that there is some income generated, even though it's not a lot, but we expect it to grow. So what we did with that was that we split these schools in two. We have the East and West, and the top two teams at the end of the preliminary rounds will play semi-final and then finals. And there is where last year, especially Principal Green of the PMS and Principal Roberts of Ottos really got a face-off for that finals. It was extremely, very good finals.
It was.
Actually PMS do come out on top.
I know we're short in time right now, but I know it must be very challenging coordinating all of these schools together and getting the available fields and the transportation. How do you manage to
Vicky, I tell you, that is a big challenge, and especially this year, it's huge, especially with the fields, because what happened, the ABFA would have spent quite a lot of money helping out these clubs and so on with the cutting and the marking. We actually, piggyback on those things. But as you can see right now, the league haven't started yet, that in terms of the ABFA. So all these fields are full of grass, and these clubs are not cutting them. Now they're waiting on the school league to start, actually. We have to do it. Actually, the PMS ground and the Antigua Grammar School, really sadly to say, the Antigua Grammar School, we have lost that field last year. There weren't any matches there because of a situation where the principal at all is not happy that there's too much of smoking going on up there. So we're trying to work with the police this year, hoping that we can get the feedback by having regular checks in the afternoon to make sure that we adjust that situation. In terms of the PMS, as you know, the port is being developed. The West Ham facility now is no more, so I understand that West Ham likely will use the PMS field. Now that will create some real problems, because we can play over the years football at PMS and the Antigua Grammar School maybe from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Now, if West Ham is going to use the field for practice and match, then you could see the challenge
that could pose a challenge
that we have. In terms of transportation, yes, we do have problem with that. The real problem is getting the teams on time, every time, to the venue. In terms of getting them back to their respective home, the government system in terms of the bus, that is okay, but the real challenge, because especially when you're looking to use the private bus, they want their monies, they don't want to hear treasury, that they should go to the treasury and wait. No. As soon as they finish, in the next 2 weeks or so, they're looking forward for their finances. So those two situations, it could be really a challenge this year for us. But we have to be up to the task because these youngsters want to play and we have to afford them the chance to play.
But that is why I asked you that question, because I know you get a lot of stick for what's happening, but a lot of people don't realize the challenges that are behind.
The things that work out behind the scenes.
How things have to work behind the scenes.
And you know,
they just expect it to be right there and then ready. But it's very challenging when you have to coordinate with all these different.
Very difficult. And what you're seeing happening. Normally the ABFA league would have started. I would get the schedule from the ABFA. I will have to look at that to see, okay, at Ottos, I can maybe play one game here because the Ottos Rangers will be playing there. Now, I have to set my schedule first.
Everything is up in the air.
So you see what can happen. Really, we don't want to run in problems with the ABFA. So there are times, maybe around 11 o'clock on the very same day that we're playing the match, that we'll call and say, look here, this is the situation because ABFA have a match here and we have to shift this match to another venue.
All right. Porridge, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the GN Sports Show. Hopefully, once the school league is in full swing, we could have Porridge back in the studio, give us an update. But again, thank you for joining us tonight on the GN Sports Show and giving us some necessary information as to the school league system. So that was coordinator of schools football in the Ministry of Sports, Mr. Rowan Porridge Benjamin. And just in a little bit, we're going to have Miss Shelana George. Shelana was with us last week speaking about the Women's World T20, and she's the Marketing and Sportainment Officer. And she's going to be joining us just to give us a little bit more information. I mean, we had a really good talk with Miss George last week, and so hopefully Shelana can give us a little bit more information. I know we had a little bit of feedback in terms of the information that Miss George gave, and some viewers asked some really good questions. And so once Miss George joins us, we can have some of those concerns addressed and all of that wonderful stuff.
You see, and it was really wonderful that Porridge joined us tonight to explain some of the difficulties and challenges that he experienced in setting up this league. A lot of people don't realize that setting up something of that magnitude, what all it entails behind the scenes. And I know it's very difficult, but we all want the best, just like all the personnel in the Ministry of Sports. But at a lot of the times, it's challenges, as he explained.
All right, so we're going to take a short commercial break, and then on the other side of the break, we're going to have Shelana George join us, the lovely Miss George from the ICC World T20. Just a quick break, and then we'll be back.
ABS 90.5 FM is the new home of the Generation Next Sports Show. 90 minutes of sports that will edify and inspire you. Join the hosts as they showcase budding stars. Plus, they will keep you informed about the latest developments in the wonderful world of sports. Thursday evenings at 7:30 will never be the same again. The GN Sports Show, Thursdays at 7:30 on its new home, ABS Radio and on Facebook Live. Don't miss it.
Conversations is back. But before we meet our guests for Season 2, we'll take a look back at the highlights of Season 1 all throughout the month of September. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. for Conversations right here on ABS.
And as promised, we are joined in studio by the lovely Miss Shelana George, who is the Marketing and Sportainment Officer.
I just love that word, sportainment.
I'm telling you, for the ICC Women's World T20. Welcome again, Shelana.
Good evening, Antigua Barbuda. Guys, today officially marks 50 days until the tournament begins. 50 days. So the countdown is on. We're just 50 days away from boundary breaking, history making tournament, which will be right here in the Caribbean. And of course, Antigua and Barbuda having the semifinals and the finals on the 22nd and the 24th.
That is absolutely good news. 50 days. Ricky.
50 days and counting.
Ricky. Now let me and you follow.
The tickets. Don't forget the ticket.
No, I didn't forget the tickets. But the thing about it is that I want to see more of Shelana coming in here.
But of
because
course.
she brings all the excitement, apart from the natural beauty, she brings all the excitement.
And that goes.
So Shelana, what you have?
Hand in hand with T20, especially the women, and I'm telling you, it's going to be an exciting tournament. People, you got to stay tuned. I mean, I heard
dates.
But funny thing, I heard someone mention kind of randomly that they had no idea what's going on in terms of the women, in terms of the World T20, and I'm trying to figure out, how do you miss these 20-foot billboards, these 20-foot bats that are erected? How do you not know what's going on? So just to make sure everybody knows, Shelana, please explain to our listening and our viewing audience what is going on with the ICC Women's World T20.
Well, as mentioned before, the ICC Women's World T20 is coming to the Caribbean. It's going to be in Guyana, St. Lucia, and Antigua. Antigua has the semifinals and the finals on the 22nd and the 24th. The semifinals are 2 matches. Finals, of course, you know, it's going to be 1 match. Tickets are from $20 for the semifinals, $30 for the finals. If you buy both the semis and the finals, it's $40. Very affordable for everybody.
When are tickets going to be available?
Online tickets are available right now on the ITC website, icc-cricket.com, or yes, you can download the ICC app and purchase your tickets there. Physical tickets will be on sale at the end of October. So you can actually go to the ticket booth and purchase your tickets early, because we want those seats filled at the stadium and we don't want you to miss it. Like I said, it's going to be history. History is going to be made. Like, you cannot miss this. You need to be a part of this.
And what about tickets for students or kids?
Yes, that will be available as well. We'll put out the prices for that later down.
Okay, fine. So the young kids will be.
Of course, it's for everybody. It's for families. It's for students. It's for cricket fans. It's for the fetters. It's for everybody.
Yeah, and those flyers that you have here are fantastic.
Thank you. Of course, you know you can't miss them.
No, you can't.
You know, normally when there's T20 cricket, when the men are playing, I generally stay close to the bar. But I think I'm going to be watching some cricket.
Well, when I go to cricket, I watch cricket.
I mean, I watch.
You're just like my dad. My dad goes to cricket. I do everything. I watch. I go for the vibes. I go for everything.
When they had the party stand, I refused to go to the party stand. I said, if I wanted to go to a party, I will go to a party. I come to watch cricket.
The men ain't winning, so I stay by the bar.
But the women, no.
The women, that's completely different.
Trust me, they're doing great things.
They're winning and they look good while they win. So it's
well, I'm sure the men will say that. I'm sure the women will say that the men look good while they're
losing.
Winning. Not winning.
But I'm not interested. Listen, you either
but I still have
winning.
Confidence West Indies will
you either winning.
The male team. I have confidence.
You either winning or you look good.
Losing.
But you can't. Well, anyway, that's different. So the women are going to be playing. I'm going to be watching.
And this is not only historic because it's being held in the Caribbean, but it's the first standalone.
Ever standalone tournament.
Because usually the women generally piggyback off the men.
Yes. So this is their tournament on its own. Nothing else, just the women alone right here in the West Indies.
And that's where the women have outdone the West Indian men. Because we've never had a World Cup
T20
hosted in the West Indies.
No. Well, we've had the World. Yes, we've had World Cup.
But the 50 overs.
Yeah.
And that's when the survey.
Yeah.
I remember.
I know. I'm talking about the T20.
The T20. No. We've never. It's never been in the West Indies. That's why I'm saying it's the first time. So this is big. It's history.
That's
Like
what I'm saying, so the women have outdone our
I
men.
know they've
Because they have
first ever
first time.
standalone, first
women-
time in the West Indies.
The women have been outdoing our men for years, really. So let's just.
Well, I will agree to that because my wife always outdo me.
Oh
But
boy.
that's another issue.
If we're being honest, and that is the reality of the situation. And the funny thing, I had this discussion in class a couple of days ago, because we were looking at the advent of women in sports, and I intentionally mentioned the women, because even if the men are not winning, whenever the West Indies play in the Caribbean, the crowds turn out. And the funny thing about it, the women are winning, and they generally don't get the support that they should.
Which is why we're encouraging persons
this
to
is
come out and support them.
Exactly what we have to change, because at the end of the day, these women need to be appreciated, not only for what they do, but for the fact that they are very good at what they do.
Yeah, it is unfortunate throughout the Caribbean, I think, that we are still a chauvinistic society.
Unfortunately.
And even in football, when the females are playing, they just don't attract the crowd as much. And you would think that they would, but it just doesn't seem to happen. But I know that from what I've seen so far, that you guys have put in an enormous amount of effort and money into marketing this.
Yes.
And I think it will be good not only for the sport in terms of the females aspect of it, but I think it'll be good for the West Indies on a whole and the individual territories that are hosting these games.
Yes, this is why the theme song, for one, it's performed by two women, I guess, at the top of their game. And the key message in the song is, it's we time now, which is, it's our time. Our time as women to rise up, we're doing amazing things in cricket. Like, you need to see this. So you can't do nothing else but watch this. You have to come and watch this.
Yes.
And we're going to show you that we can do it, that we can be just as good as the males.
Exactly. Well, actually, right now you're doing better.
Better.
A lot better. A lot better. And the results are there, the championships are there, the trophies are there. And so the only thing we need to add to that mix.
I mean, I still have my support for them, because since I was a little girl, rally around the male West Indies team. But now, we have to share that spotlight now, because the women are stepping up.
Yeah, we'll share the spotlight when they actually start winning again.
Oh boy!
Well, I'm a typical West Indian. When we're losing, turn off the radio, turn off the TV. You don't want to see it. When we're winning, then turn it back on.
My father watches it from the time it begins until the time it ends, and blood pressure high, cold sweat, everything.
And that happening more nowadays.
Yes.
But in all fairness, the men are slowly. You are seeing slowly but surely signs of improvement, but. Again, one of the things we must do. I mean, the women are getting the results, so the trophies are there, the achievements are there, the individual accomplishments are there, and so what we need to add to the mix now is that fan support, that fan base, getting people out to the games, being there, giving our girls the encouragement to keep fighting, keep working, and improve. Because at the end of the day, we're West Indian. And it only speaks volumes for us, not only as a people, but as a team, once we're at the top of our game. And eventually, I think within the next few years, the women are going to be the driving force behind West Indies cricket, and that is going to force the men, and they're gonna pull them along, and eventually, that's one of the ways that, in my opinion, we can turn it around.
And not only that, but with the women doing so well. And if the crowd will come out and support it, and all of us will support them, then it will encourage younger women to get involved in the sport, and become part of it.
So it's an inspiration for everybody. So just like how the male team inspired the female team, now the female team can inspire the male team, and as well inspire young females as well to pursue this sport.
And then you were talking earlier, and you just mentioned about you can go and download the ICC app.
Yes.
And that is available on
Play Store and what you call it for iPhone now?
I have an Android phone.
It's I something.
I can't. The ice is ice store. I think it's the ice store.
Listen, I can't.
I have an Android, so
Listen, I can't.
I'm just like.
But it's available for both the iPhone.
Yes.
I can't afford
and we
no
encourage-
iPhone on my teaching salary.
I'm sorry. And we encourage everybody to go
Yes,
and
to download it, or if not, go on icc-cricket.com and just click on World T20 and just look for tickets and just purchase your tickets online.
So you can purchase the tickets way in advance.
Yes.
So there's no excuse.
You hear?
And you can purchase it for any. You can purchase it for any venue. So St. Lucia, Guyana, Antigua.
I was asking
You
about
can
it.
purchase it
I was
in advance.
I was asking about it for a reason.
Okay.
Okay.
As long as we're on this, as long as we're
And
on
you
the same
remember
page.
last week he made it clear there's only one ticket you want.
I have
you
absolutely
download,
no problem with
you
that.
download the app too for your wife.
No problem at all, Ricky. But
So
you
so
are
everybody
going
out there
to.
that's listening,
You're
that's
not
viewing
getting
and-
out of buying my ticket.
No, I've made a promise. I will keep it.
But it's tickets
Yes,
for the
matches.
semi-finals
And the finals.
That's
So
not-
don't think it's just
that's
one.
That's not the problem. That's not
Okay.
the problem. But we encourage
just so we're on the same
We
page.
encouraging the listening audience and those who are following us live on Facebook, download the app,
And purchase the tickets. And don't forget the 3 bats that are around the country. Feel free to go and take your selfie pictures and post them on social media, because we're encouraging you to spread the word. So don't just look at the bats now. You can go up to them, interact with the bats, take a little selfies, and use the hashtag watch this, hashtag WT20, and post it on your social media. Just show support for the tournament.
Yeah, and spread the word.
Spread the word.
Because you got to watch it.
Yes.
You definitely have to watch
You
it.
don't want to be left out of this historical event.
No. And it, like I said, the tournament is not just for cricket fans, it's for everybody. We have lots of entertainment that's going to be happening on the ground. It's going to be so packed. We'll have cultural elements, fire breathers. You know, they have to have the iron band and the steel pan and so on, the vibes, the DJs, and of course our local artists and our very own Shensia and Patrice will be there to perform the tournament song.
So Shelana, you're gonna come here 2 weeks in a row and not even mention one of the local artists that's gonna perform.
I'll give you a hint.
A hint. What's that?
How can I say it now? Which song should I use for him?
Well, it's a hymn, so that's a hint.
You know what? I'll just say the name. So, you know, supporting our young and upcoming artists, we have Young Lyrics, who will be one of the local acts on the show.
That's excellent. That's good. So at least we got one.
We got one name.
We got one.
Hopefully when she comes back next week.
Next week I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Anyways, unfortunately, we gotta say goodbye to Shelana for another week.
Unfortunately.
Thursday can't seem to come around quick enough. But Shelana, thanks again for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Joining us at ABS on the GN Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we return, we are gonna have Dr. Mills from the AUA, and he's gonna talk to us about wellness and health pertaining to our young athletes. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a quick chat with Dr. Rick Mills from the AUA. All right, welcome back, and we are joined in the studio by our resident doctor. Yeah,
Resident doctor.
Resident doctor. Wow, you guys are making me sound much more important than I am. I don't think I deserve that importance, but okay, resident doctor. Millis. You got it.
I think we had a question from last week. Yes, we do. So I think that's what we're going to do tonight.
We have a question from Paddy
In the UK, people are in the UK are listening to us?
Yes.
This is amazing.
It is.
We're worldwide.
Exactly, we're getting there.
Do you know these people?
I know one of them. I know both of them.
Are you sure you didn't feed them the question?
No, I did not. That's why I'm looking at the question.
Okay, good.
What are the advantages, if any, of sports gel high energy drinks?
Okay, very interesting, very interesting. So there are these gels that people are now taking that are basically all carbohydrate. And what they do is they provide energy, okay? And so, are they effective in the short run? If you have short-term activity, let's say for 15, 20 minutes exercise, no. So this is for endurance athletes, for people who are running marathons and long races. So let's say you're running for 90 minutes, all right? You're going to run out of energy, all right? In other words, your glucose is going to be used up in your muscles, and your glycogen is the storage form of glucose, and you're also going to be mentally tired when you use up this glucose, and you run the risk of your blood glucose level dropping. And so it turns out that if, let's say, 45 minutes into the run, let's say it's a 90-minute run, you take one of these gels, these carbohydrate gels, people seem to perform better. Okay? So basically, it's an energy boost. Now, how much of it is mental and how much it is at the muscle level, we really don't know. You see? Because your brain is using carbohydrate purely for energy. But your muscles can use fat. So you're breaking down fat to energize your muscles. At the same time, your brain is using the glucose. So if there's limited glucose supply, you feel tired. You don't have the right perceptions about what you're doing, and sometimes it's just mental. You get that. How many people have had a glucose high or a glucose boost from taking some very strong candy? All right, kids. You've seen kids. They go nuts after they have a little. Yeah, exactly. Especially the ones that are young and have a susceptibility to this attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So yeah, but what it's doing at the muscle level, there's not enough research on it. Not enough research on it. But as long as you're on the topic of energy, the other thing that's a big problem these days are the energy drinks. Red Bull, Monster this, Monster that. You see, you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about, right?
And worse than that is when they add alcohol. They have the high energy drinks and they add alcohol.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be nuts to do that, but okay.
But they do it. I know of people who
Yeah. I know. I've seen it. You're right. I have seen it. Actually, I've seen it in the clubs. People are taking the Red Bull with alcohol, and perhaps they think it's reducing their drowsiness from the alcohol, and maybe boosting their reflexes, because we know reflexes are depressed with alcohol. So the big problem with these energy drinks is you get the energy from caffeine. So all these energy drinks have caffeine. There's a bunch of amino acids they put in there, and we're not sure of all the effects of those. But we do know what the caffeine does. The caffeine causes release of calcium inside muscles. So when we contract the muscle, we're releasing calcium into the muscle to to make the muscle actually create force. So it's think of it as if your muscle is a motor, right? Calcium inside the muscle is a spark, the spark plug. It provides the spark for the motor to run. So if you release more calcium, you've got more spark, then you're going to have actually more force from the muscle. So if you take a strong drink of coffee, some espresso that's high in caffeine, before you lift weights, you'll lift more weight. And if you're just sitting and you take those energy drinks and not doing any workout, you will be able to do more work. In other words, your muscles will feel it. So when you start walking, it'll be easier for you to walk. It'll be easier for you to do almost anything. And it gives you the feeling you have more energy. Plus, we know that caffeine arouses the brain. So you get this arousal effect from the caffeine. In small doses.
Yeah.
But like you said, kids and non-kids too, they go crazy. And everybody thinks if a little is good, a lot is going to be much better. And it doesn't work that way. And so some people are very sensitive to caffeine. So here's the downside. The downside is we're starting to see deaths from too much of the energy drinks. Okay? Especially in young people who tend to overdo everything, right? So why are we having these deaths? Well, you have these blood vessels in your heart that serve your heart muscle. So when you're exercising, you need more blood flow to your heart muscle. The muscle is in the walls of the heart. The heart, is a pump. So for the pump to work effectively, muscles are organized around these things called ventricles, right? These hollow spheres in the middle where blood squirts out of, right? And gives us our blood pressure. So this cardiac muscle has to have a blood supply, an oxygen supply, a nutrient supply. And we get that through what we call coronary arteries. Coronary arteries that actually bring nutrients to the heart muscle. So when you're exercising, you need more blood flow. And these blood vessels, coronary arteries, have to dilate. Dilate means get wider. When they get wider, you get more blood flow. That's the only way you can get more nutrients to the heart when you're exercising. Well, what do you think caffeine does to the widening? It stops the widening. It inhibits the widening. Why? Because the widening is dependent on a chemical called adenosine. And caffeine is an inhibitor of adenosine receptors. So for adenosine to work and make coronary arteries wider, get more blood flow, you need the adenosine, and caffeine blocks it. So you go out and exercise, and if you are sensitive, you can feel chest pain, and it will limit your activity. And when you feel the chest pain, it tells you that your heart muscle is being deprived of oxygen. In other words, the demand for oxygen and nutrients is exceeding the supply, is greater than the supply. So you go into what we call an oxygen debt, and that's bad for the heart. The heart does not tolerate that well. Some other tissues in the body will tolerate an oxygen debt pretty well. The heart will not. The heart will start failing, and so we're getting deaths from these energy drinks like that. But in small doses, sure. When I go shoot some baskets, if I have a Coke or I have a little, shot of espresso beforehand, I feel better, and I can tell the difference. I actually, can create more force with my muscles, and yeah. So there's two sides of the energy story. Then we talked about the sugar cube, right, and then the energy drinks. The energy drinks in small doses are pretty safe. The other effect of caffeine is also interesting. It acts as a diuretic. It makes you urinate. Right? You have some caffeine, you go to the bathroom more. And so, it can dehydrate you. On the other hand, all the research has shown that in normal doses, that diuretic effect doesn't have much of an adverse effect on your athletic performance. So it doesn't dehydrate you a huge amount because caffeine is a small diuretic, a minor diuretic. It doesn't have a huge effect. Okay, well, hopefully you can get some more questions for next week.
But actually, what I want, I think this is an excellent discussion that I want to at the high school, and this is, I find this information extremely important, helpful not only for me, but also once I have that information that I can somehow so definitely next week, Dr. Millis, I want to start off our discussion by finishing the concept of sports and segue into the other. But again,
and you don't have to be so formal with me. You can just call me Dr. Rick. How's that?
That's excellent. So again, thank you, Dr. Rick, for joining us at EPS. Ladies and gentlemen, the end of another edition of the GNFC Sports Show. ABS, once again, we'll definitely thank for giving us this new home. And next week we can have another fun show for you guys. Obviously, we're going to have another edition of our school interviews. But again, thank you so much for joining us on EBS Facebook.